What's up, y'all? It's everybody's favorite Unk, and today we're gonna cross the fog to the lands between
to stand before the Elden Ring.
Because we got some medieval shit, man, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I am super excited about this one. I am a huge Elden Ring fan. I hadn't played video games or owned a video game console in years, and I got a game console just to play Elden Ring when it came out, and it's the first game that I've ever beat twice to completion in my entire life. And I'm sure if you clicked on this video, you're probably an Elden Ring fan yourself, but all things that are kind of medieval, dark fantasy related. And man, we got something really special today. We are taking a look at the SH Figuarts Festering Fingerprint Vyke. Now, this is not a lore video. We're not gonna go deep into the lore of Festering Fingerprint Vyke. Just know that he is the cover boy of Elden Ring. And he's also known as the only tarnished that became close to becoming the Elden Lord. At first, I thought this was a really interesting choice by Tamashii Nations and Bandai for this to be the first character from Elden Ring that they make a figure of, but it kind of makes a lot of sense the more I dug back into the lore, because it's been quite some time since I beat the game. It's been over a year and a half probably now. But yeah, man, I was thinking maybe they would have made like Ronnie or Melania or maybe Gideon Offner, just someone who wasn't kind of like a optional side quest character, which is pretty much what Festering Fingerprint Vyke is, but that just shows how expansive and how large the world of Elden Ring is. There's always something new around every nook and cranny of the game, but we're not here to talk about the game Elden Ring. We're here to talk about the first figure from the series by Tamashii Nations. Now, before we hop into it, you know I always like to make these videos a little bit interactive between I and the viewer, and if you're watching this video, like I said, I'm sure you're an Elden Ring fan. I have a question for everybody watching today. What character would you like to see most made by Bandai and Tamashii Nations? For me, it would definitely have to be Godfrey the First Elden Lord, specifically Hoarah.
Now I fight as Hoarah, warrior!
His second phase when you fight him. Now, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but that would be who I'd want to see. Now, before we get too far into it, I do want to talk about the price of this guy. He's going to be sitting somewhere around $80. I missed a pre-order on him, so I did have to get him retail. I paid just about $80. I believe that's a fair price for this figure, just being honest with you. Of course, with any import figures, you're always going to see crazy scalper prices going. You know, I think that there's figures that aren't as good as this one, spoiler alert, that are going for a lot more online. Like, this guy deserves to be higher, but I'm glad that he's not, because man, I want everybody that can to be able to get their hands on this one, because you know, as I know, that if we support this line, they will continue to make them, and the more accessible it is, the easier it is to buy, the more people will buy it, and that is an awesome thing. But anyway, let's get into the box. So with this being Tamashii Nation's first attempt at an Elden Ring figure, it's pretty much your standard SH Figuarts boxing. You've got your window packaging on the front with the picture of Vyke on the side. You've got Elden Ring on the bottom, SH Figuarts, all your little logos, Tamashii Nations, Bandai, your seal of authenticity. On the back of the box, you've got a render of Vyke holding his war spear. You've also got a picture of the accessories and a picture of the figure posed up, along with all the typical jargon at the bottom of the box. On the side of the box, you've got his name, Festering Fingerprint Vyke, and Elden Ring. On the other side of the box, you've got a picture of him again and his name again, and on the bottom of the box you've got a nice little picture of him on the side with his name and all the information, of course, once more. But enough about the box, man. But you know how we do on this channel, man. Enough about the box. Let's get this guy out of the packaging and get our first impressions of the aesthetic straight out of the box. Now, right out of the box, man, the first thing I noticed is there's so much great paint work on this figure. Like, literally on almost every part of this figure, from the armor with that nice shiny finish in spots so it kind of glistens in the light, to even the little shading on the armor where he's been burned by the frenzied flame. I mean, Jesus, man, like his cape or his scarf, whatever you want to call it, it has a wash on it as well. The chainmail is done awesome. It has a little wash on that as well. There is literally paint all over this figure, and that's such a breath of fresh air in a climate where it seems like more and more we get less and less paint from not just, you know, Tamashii Nations, but literally every toy line right now. It seems like we get less and less paint. The sculpt is magnificent. You've got the battle damage crafted into his helmet and all over his armor. And you can really tell they paid attention to detail on every part of this figure. I just love it. And honestly, Going back and looking at some of the photos of Vyke and looking at some videos of gameplay online, this is a 100% accurate depiction to the source material. And when you can get something 100% accurate to the source material, I mean, Jesus, that's not an easy thing to do. It sounds easier said than done, but man, I think they got as close as you can to getting this guy to look exactly like he looks in the game. 10 out of 10, man. Looks really, really good. I love the way that this figure looks. The only nitpick I do have about the aesthetic, and it's a small nitpick, and it's one that I know there's not really going to ever be a resolution to in the near future, but Tamashii Nations does not use soft goods on their figures, and they probably won't, but I feel like if they use actual chain for the chainmail and maybe a soft goods cape, that would have taken this figure to the next level. That would have made this one of the best action figures I've ever put my hands on, to be honest with you. So they kind of missed the mark on that, but you can't expect Tamashii Nations to do it because they haven't set the precedent that they will. So, minor nitpick, but, just little things. There's always little things you can do to get better. Nothing is perfect, and there's always things you can do to take it to the next level. All right, now getting into accessories. He comes with a pretty good spread, man. You've got his war spear. The war spear looks really, really good. You've got all the detail on the end of the tip here. And I mean, there's paint all up and down the spear, man, like the red on the tip, and even like the hints of grays and silvers in the handle, and the way they crafted and sculpted the handle for this thing. It just feels quality. Everything about these accessories feels quality. You've also got the flame from the Frenzied Flame. The flame looks awesome. It looks really, really good. Man, I can't say enough about this effect piece. This is an awesome effect piece, and this is what you want in an effect piece right here. It just looks so great. The gradient from the oranges and the yellows to the red flames. It looks awesome. You get 3 sets of extra hands. You get 2 open hands, 1 left and 1 right. You get 2 sets of holding hands. You get 1 set for holding the spear that has a slight tilt to it, so it holds it a little bit tighter. And you get another set that's kind of for holding miscellaneous weapons. As you can see in some of the videos here, I definitely hooked him up with some weapons that I had in the stash, and he just looks great with all of those. So yeah, I think the accessories are just fine on this one. Nothing extraordinary, nothing underwhelming, but the highlight is definitely that effect piece, and the spear looks really, really good. So for articulation, man, I've said it before, I'm gonna say it again. I'm not gonna go over every single point of articulation because I'm not a scientist. I do not engineer action figures, and hey, I'm just gonna put it into some poses and show you guys in real time what this guy can do. And man, there are some really, really, really good things with the articulation on this guy. It's a really interesting design because the way that this character is designed, he has a whole lot of that armor and a whole lot of chainmail on. So you would think that this thing is gonna be big and clunky and not able to really move around. But I will tell you right now, this thing is buttery smooth, man. Everything is so buttery smooth. And the highlight, there are a lot of highlights actually of the articulation. Some of the highlights are the butterfly joints, and the shoulders are literally like hands down some of the best butterfly joints I've seen on an action figure. They are so good. You get so much range, easy crossed arms. You don't got to fight with it at all. There's also a little like hinge piece on that shoulder pad to make it hinge up and down out of the way. It is awesome, man. Like they just made the perfect design decisions almost all around on this figure. The head is a little limited on the range because that scarf or that cape is on him. But one thing they really did really, really cool was they added kind of a forward and back motion on his neck, and it gives it kind of the illusion of an ab crunch, which is genius in my opinion, because if you look at this character design, it's hard to get a good ab crunch when you have all that big bulky armor, and he has no ab crunch, but what that back and forth does on the neck, it makes him have an ab crunch, and I've never seen that on an action figure before, and it's so awesome, like genius level design. You also get really, really, really good toe hinges. The toe hinges on this thing like actually matter. Like you actually need them to pose it, and they hold up very well. Some of the strongest and best toe hinges I've seen on any SH Figuarts figure that I own to date. And of course you get those 3.0 legs, the 3.0 legs. Everything is awesome about them except for the fact that there's a little booty in the back and you can't kick back too far. But I don't have too big of an issue with that. I know a lot of people really don't like that, but especially on a character like this where he has a lot of armor, dude, like this is the optimal design for an armored character in my opinion. I feel like any action figure company that's making armored figures that are armored this heavily, they should take notes from Tamashii Nations on this one because bravo, this is some awesome articulation. All right, I'm going to get into some size comparisons real quick. Now, this being the first SH Figuarts Elden Ring figure. There aren't any Elden Ring characters to compare him to for scale. If you have Mythic Legions or if you back that Savage Crucible line, I'm sure that those lines will scale perfectly with Fingerprint Vyke here. But I just put it up against some figures that I feel like are kind of in the same wheelhouse for the first comparison. You've got the G.I. Joe Classified Series Red Ninja, you've got the G.I. Joe Classified Series Storm Shadow, and you've got the Swoosh Articulated Icon Seijin or the Samurai. And to compare him against some other Bandai Tamashii Nations efforts, you've got him with Goku, the SH Figuarts Full Power Super Saiyan Goku. You've got him with the Jujutsu Kaisen Fushiguro and the SH Figuarts Triple H. And just to put him up against some Marvel Legends, because I know there's a lot of Marvel Legends collectors out there, you got him against the King in Black 2-pack Venom, you've got him against the Lady Deathstrike, and you've got him against the Black Panther T'Challa with the Vibranium suit. All right, man, final thoughts on Festering Fingerprint Vyke. Damn it, man, this is such an awesome figure, and I'm gonna tell you right now, man, I don't know if I'm gonna do a top 10 figures of the year list at the end of the year, but this one is easily gonna be a shoe-in for that top 10 if I do a top 10. This is one of the best purchases I have made in a while, especially for the price, man. You know these import figures can be really expensive, so if you can get this guy for around $80, like I said, it is a steal, man. Compared to the $130 that I spent on the secondhand market for that Turles I reviewed recently, this just blows that out of the water. I'm really excited to see what Tamashii Nations does with the Elden Ring IP moving forward. I really want to get a Horolu, I really want to get a Radahn, I really want to get a Ranni, I really want to get a lot of those characters, man. Everything about this figure just screams attention to detail. The thing that sticks out the most to me, besides just how beautiful it is and how good it looks, is the articulation, man. I was not expecting this guy to articulate as good as he does, but as you can see in a lot of these shots, man, this guy can get into almost any pose you want to put him in, and he looks so damn good. The only downsides I have are a few things. I wish that Tamashii Nations would embrace soft goods a little bit more. I know they're not for everyone, and I know we probably won't get them, but that's one thing that I wish they would embrace a little bit more. I will say, like, even though the toe hinges work very, very well, he can be kind of a hassle to get stood in certain poses. But as you can see, like, once you get him stood, he's nice and solid, and it's really fun to pose him around just because that articulation feels so good. So even with some of the negatives, man, this thing is an overall net positive. But to me, the biggest negative is that there aren't any other Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts Elden Ring figures out. So Bandai, Tamashii Nations, please, 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 please. Man, I am waiting. I am just waiting in the wings and anticipating the next announcement for a figure from this line. So I'm going to go ahead and give this guy a grade, man. And if I'm going to give this guy a grade on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give him a 9. This is so close to perfection. I mean, honestly, I want to say it's perfect, but nothing is perfect and everything has room for improvement. But this is about as close to a 10 as you can get. And I am of the opinion that you'll be hard pressed to find this year another 6-inch figure that drops that comes close to the quality that Tamashii Nations produced on this one. Like I said, 9 out of 10. Round of applause for Tamashii Nations. This was awesome. But anyway, do you guys have this figure? And if you do, what do you think of it? If you don't, are you going to be picking it up? Remember to like and subscribe, or you will fall victim to the madness of the frenzied flame. Throw on that notification bell so you don't miss it every time I drop a video. And until next time, peace.